Good day. I'm Mike James, and this is Parkitect. Hey, thanks for joining me today. I do appreciate it. How's everyone doing? Got a great show for you today. Parkitect is doing something they haven't done in a while. They're running another Design a Coaster contest. Now, the way this works is pretty simple. I'll explain it to you today, and I'm going to show you how I made mine. Now, mine's not quite complete, but it's 90% of the way there. Waiting for the new alpha to release probably in about a week. There's some new scenery. We'll be talking about that next week when it is released. It looks great, but I want to get some of that new scenery, or at least have the option to put that new scenery in before I upload my coaster for the contest. And I hope that you guys will take this to heart and build your own coaster for the contest. It's fun. Even if you don't win, it's a great experience. Hang on tight. The coaster contest is coming right at you. All right, so here we are on Parkitect Nexus, and this is the template that you have to download for the coaster. And here are the rules. Basically, no mods. Gosh, that's tough for me, but no mods. And you have to build it in that area. Nothing can be outside of that area. And just basically make a realistic coaster, and don't give it some inappropriate name. You know, you don't want to call your coaster, grandma's, whatever. You call it a real coaster name. My coaster is, I think I'm going to call it Zippity Zoom or something like that. And I've downloaded it. Downloaded the template. And now let's get right into, the initial build. Now, one of the challenges that you'll see here when designing the coaster is that the mini coaster, which is the subject of this particular contest, very, very restrictive. It doesn't go very high, doesn't go very fast. It's pretty much designed to be one of those young kid coasters. And the turns aren't really sharp, and the angles can't be very steep. And so you're restricted quite a bit. You have to do a lot of planning just to find a place where maybe if you want to, and I did, have the coaster go under itself, because it basically has to be as tall as it can get, or real close to it, and then all the way down to the ground. One of the things that they don't want you to do here is make a coaster that requires any special scenery. So you can't make it super high because you put a hill. You can make the coaster, allow the coaster to go higher by putting some of the track on a hill. Well, in this case, in the contest, they want it to be in the game where the winners will be put in Alpha 6, I believe. And what they don't want is for someone to have a particular type of scenery, because then it's going to be almost impossible for someone to plop the coaster down, and it'll be very frustrating. So you basically have to work with the flat. And this is what I came up with. Fairly simple design. Just go up almost just about as high as you can go, and then make a couple curves, go back up, keep the speed down. You don't want to scare the kids, but you do want it to have a little bit of an excitement. And then I did manage to get it to go under itself at the edge there, and then it just comes around, makes a couple more big sweeping turns, and goes back into the station. That's the way most of these little mini coasters work. If you've been to any small fairs, they'll have these, and they also have them sometimes at theme parks. But this is a lot more of a kid-friendly ride than a lot of times you will find at some of the big theme parks. You go to some of those big theme parks like Disney or something, and they have kid rides, but they very rarely have kids coasters. And I'm not sure why that is. It might be a liability thing, but generally the kids' rides are just things that go around in circles pretty slow, or something that follows a little track but isn't a coaster. It's just it goes at a steady rate. And so you're really kind of missing that from the big theme parks. I think this is a great restrictive way of making you think about how you're going to design your coaster. Now, I did something a little bit different here in the video. I've taken my coaster and I'm going to show you how the scenery got built. And you'll notice the first thing you'll see here is I'm going to add most of the paths. And it was a real challenge because this coaster doesn't go very high and it spends a lot of its time near the ground. I wanted to have stuff inside the coaster where people could walk around and, buy a soda, buy some bubble tea, get some ice cream, and have scenery around it to make the coaster more appealing. One of the things you can do for the contest, you can just enter a coaster, but most people that end up winning or at least doing well in the contest add a lot of scenery, and you can do just trees and things, but I like the idea of having a living coaster. You'll see I'm putting a fence around the outside. This is the area that you are allowed to build in. Very basic station here. I tried putting these black pillars. I didn't like them, so I put some brown pillars instead, you'll see here. And I wanted to have as much detail as I could without making it look too goofy. And I think I did pretty well here. One of the things I did want to do is put like a canopy over the entrance here. I think it adds a lot to the look of the coaster, and you don't get wet. I'm putting some shops in, and I have a building that I build around them. And this is so you can get snacks and things and to attract people into the actual coaster area. And I know in a real coaster, you're probably not going to be under the coaster too much, but we're going to take this for granted and just make an exception in this case. Made a couple different buildings. I wanted the buildings to be different colors, and I wanted them to be day glow at first, but then I kind of toned it down and made them more of a pastel look. But you'll notice we're putting in places for people to buy ice cream, where we have benches where they can sit down. I've even got a couple shade areas. I ended up also putting in this bathroom here because I figured, if people are going to be in here, I hate watching half the people in my parks running around with their hands crossed over their legs and doing that splayed duck walk. It just doesn't look good. Here, I decided let's make a spot where the coaster goes through a building. Interesting, fun. I kind of wish, you remember the old Roller Coaster Tycoon? You could have buildings with doors, and the doors would actually open and close as the Wild Mouse coasters went through. I don't know if they'll be able to do that, or if they will do that. I know they could if they really wanted to in Parkitect. But that's the main buildings I've got here. So now what I'm doing is I'm adding some scenery. I'm going to add some flowers here. I think that looks really nice. And I'll add a whole bunch of just bushes and trees and grass. I even end up adding a mushroom patch over here. I put some flowers down, and then down in this area, I put just a bunch of purple mushrooms. They'll match the building, and I think it really looks neat. Throw a couple rocks down to make it look, more detailed. And over here, I decided to put a pumpkin patch. The pumpkins have been in the game for a while, and I haven't really used them in scenery very often. So here I'm just laying down some grass just to make it look like just not pumpkins sitting on a lawn, but actual a field where maybe there's some pumpkins. And so I'm going to fill up basically the entire area with trees and bushes and flowers. And I just want the whole thing to look very complete. When you go to a regular theme park, you get to see the entire place all done up. You never see or you hardly ever see, I should say, empty fields or things that look incomplete. It's the experience. You go there and it's like a fantasy world. You don't realize that the entire world isn't just like this with all the neat scenery and everything. It really adds something to the experience, and I think it really adds something to the look of, to be honest, a fairly plain roller coaster. There's not a lot you can do with these roller coasters. Now, when I originally made this coaster, this path that you're going to see here, or not the path, the route that the coaster takes, pretty straightforward. This is an example of pretty much the finished product here. I did some tweaking though, but one thing I wasn't real happy with was the roller coaster's excitement rating was medium, which was great, but the nausea rating was also kind of high. It wasn't high, but it was medium. It was at the bottom end of medium, and I wanted to try to fix that. I love the look of this, and I was happy to leave it like this, but I had to do some editing on the track. Here's my second attempt. You'll notice the track on the left has changed a little bit. It goes out farther past the yellow building, and there's a little bit of a difference in that curve going around the tree area. You'll also notice the tree area has changed. It no longer goes all the way around the tree because the track is now blocking it. I had to make some changes. Got the coaster down to a low nausea rating, but I didn't like the way it looked there on the left. So I did a little more editing and tried to tweak it just a little bit. I was able to change back where I could get that tree back separated and actually lifted it off the ground with a trick we've shown you in a previous video. And there's a shop underneath that tree. This was really nice. I liked it. I got the low nausea rating, and now I have that place where you go all the way around the tree. I think it looks really good. I did notice a problem though. And that problem was that at the right, where it goes into the building, the track was a little too high and the people's heads were hitting the bar or the door. So I raised it up so that now you have that second story on the purple building in the right. And that solved that problem. And I did a couple other little tweaks to the scenery, but pretty much you'll notice I've got flowers near the yellow building now as well. That's where we ended up. I honestly think this looks great. I'm going to do a couple little tweaks to it, maybe add a little more to the yellow building and the blue building, just to maybe give it just that little bit more. That's why I'm waiting for Alpha 5 to come out, hopefully next week. Maybe do that and add on to it. Give it that last little bit of polish. But what do you think? I think this looks beautiful. I'm really happy with the way my coaster turned out and all the scenery. I really want you guys to enter this contest too. If you don't, or even if you do, when you see my coaster up there, please give me a thumbs up, vote for it. I'd appreciate it. You know, I appreciate each and every one of you watching the videos, all the subscriptions, all the comments. You guys are just great. Thank you so much. And until next time, I'm Mike James, and I hope each and every one of you has a good one.